Emmert, Commissioner Isbell, Commissioner White, Commissioner Meade,
Here.
Commissioner Beauchamp, Commissioner Smallridge.
Here.
All right, 6 here and 2 absent.
Okay, we have a quorum. Good, please stand. Commissioner Fritz, followed by the pledge. Commissioner Emmett.
Dear Father, we just thank you, Lord, for this day, Lord, and many blessings you have given us. We are so unworthy, Lord, but you just continue to bless us in so many different ways. And Father, we just ask that now that you just take care of this many people, Lord, that in this country that are still suffering from this pandemic. Even though we have a lot of rise now in the cases, Lord, that we just ask that you be with each one, Lord, and just touch them, Father, and heal them, Lord. And Father, we just ask now you be with this body tonight as we go over the business of this county. Help us, Father, to do what's is in your will. Forgive us when we fail you. For Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge of the flag and salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we go to any further business, I'd just like to say welcome to a new member. Sabra, welcome to the Charter Commission. Glad to have you. At this time, I'd ask for approval of the May minutes.
Move for approval.
Motion to approve. Do I hear?
Second.
Got a second? Guess all votes are a roll call vote.
We don't have to do that now that we're not on virtual.
Okay.
We just
Any
call.
questions or objections concerning the May 3rd minutes? If not, all those in favor, let it be known, saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Well, next part is the appearance of citizens. So I don't see any other than our guests or officials. So, Mr. Yeager? Yes, sir. You're next on the agenda.
First of all, I want you to meet John Owings. He's the managing partner and senior partner at Owings, Wilson, and Coleman. And John has been gracious enough to help us with the charter. He comes with a whole lot of experience, and you know it's very hard to find people with experience writing charters. But Knox was very lucky to have John as the deputy law director and then the law director down there. And during that time, the Charter Commission and the charter was being formulated and then attacked at some point later. But you all know the history of that. There was a long kind of court case that went on for a while, but John was instrumental in resolving that. Today, he went into private practice after he was the law director and formed this firm, and they handle pretty much a lot of government law, wouldn't you think, John? The majority, you tip the scales, represents some school boards, do some governmental audits, but he's still highly active in governmental law. But he was the best person I could think of to get involved to assist us in this, especially with his background. And John, didn't you tell me one of your partners down there actually was on the original Charter Commission for Knox County?
Yes, sir. Back when Overby, and a bunch of other names. Claude Robertson was one of the people that were on the Charter Commission for Knox County back in the late 80s. Richard Beeler, who was also counsel to them, was later the county law director. He was my boss at one time, as well as then when he left the county, he went to the Robertson Overby Law Firm. We changed the name of our firm back in, about 4 years ago. Doug Overby, who was with us then, was appointed by President Trump to be the U.S. Attorney for East Tennessee. And so he went and he performed that service. When President Biden came into office, he asked all of the Republican appointees, those appointed by Trump, to resign. And so all of the Republican appointees for U.S. attorneys, they turned in their resignation. I asked Doug to come back with us. So Doug is now back with us in our firm, kind of going back to old times. But Doug and Claude Robertson, they formed the firm back in 1982. And Claude Robertson was one of the catalysts, I guess you could say, for the charter being formulated. He helped write it, and so did Richard Beeler, both former members of my firm. Yeah. And my first day in starting with Knox County, I was a law clerk at federal court in the late 80s. And my first day with Knox County was the very first day that the charter went into effect. And so day one, September 1, 1990, was my first day with Knox County. And it probably, our charter was sound. And if you ask me, it wouldn't have been challenged but for the fact that we initiated term limits to a lot of our offices. And that created a real stir, which led to the Knox County Charter being challenged. And we had a local chancellor that found, he believed, he found a deficiency within the charter, and that was in not describing what the duties of the offices all were, for the trustee, for the property assessor, and so forth. We had them in the charter, and they were offices within the charter, and they were elected just like they'd always been elected, but he felt like that there should have been more duties spelled out within the charter. And so he basically overturned the charter at that moment, went to the Tennessee Supreme Court, straight to the Supreme Court. I was told later on, we argued the case over in the Supreme Court building. I argued for the county, and I was told by the Chief Justice long after all of that was settled and gone, that actually whenever they got together, the 5 justices got together, the vote was 2-2, and 1 was the swing vote to make the decision that they did. Well, I think he must have been the swing vote, but he said he wrote the decision for the court both ways. He wrote the decision for the court both ways, one overturning the judge's decision and the other upholding it. Well, it ended up the third person, the third justice, went along with upholding the chancellor's decision, but only based upon what he said, that we had a de facto county government, that we just needed to make a few revisions within the charter document and we would be fine. So in that 3-2 ended up being 5-0. Once you've got all your votes, the other 2 come along. But he wrote it both ways. So it was a very close call on the validity of the Knox County Charter. This is a great opportunity for me and for us. And one of our law clerks, and actually he's about to take the ethics portion of the Tennessee bar exam, in another week?
Yes, sir.
Is Gavin Smeltzer. He's one of the brightest attorneys you'll ever meet, and he has joined us, and we're looking forward to many, many good years ahead with Gavin. So Gavin's been helping me, and we've already, I guess, come a long way in just a week or so in working up the document that we're all going to review together over the next few months. So we're well on our way.
Anybody got any questions of John? That's good, John.
Yeah, we thank
Really
you.
good.
We thank you for the opportunity, and really do. We really, truly do look forward to working with you.
We thank you, John.
Yeah. I think we can come together with a document. I've spoken with a few of you, a document that maintains status quo, that is valid, and that's a good charter for Anderson County, and one that's not easily overturned by a court and not easily abused.
That's what we like.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John.
I'm sure we'll have plenty of questions.
Yes, sir.
They always do. I really feel comfortable with John and his firm. I've had a chance to sit down with them, and of course, I've known John forever through the Tennessee County Attorneys Association. Always been very impressed with him, and he's been our director for the president of the County Attorneys Conference, and we tried to make it a lifetime appointment to secretary, but after about 5 years, he scratched that. But he did a great job with treasury duties and all that for our association. But anyway, I want to go back and make sure we're all on board with some of the decisions we've made before, and so John can understand where we're at. He's got a couple of our documents, but I just want to make sure I've got these correct. Now, if you, in the minutes, it shows that we addressed these issues, but sometimes it didn't say exactly what we decided to do. So I just want to get confirmation on a few areas. I'm going back to November 2nd of 2020. And the first thing I got that you wanted to see included is enterprise zones. You remember, that's where the blighted neighborhoods, I think Tim was most concerned about what's going on in Rocky Top with the homeless, and he wanted to stimulate the economy. We actually started talking about some other corridors in Anderson County, but enterprise zones are available to charter governments. But is that a yes? Everybody, any other questions? I've got it as a yes.
We voted on that.
Yes. Some of them we did, some of them we didn't. Judicial commissioners, you wanted that or the magistrate system, either one, correct?
Yes.
We've got a study
Yeah,
group
we-
of
we
county
need-
commission.
We need to get into a handling of that is actually constitutional.
Right.
And so that's
I
the-
think I've told you, there's
yeah.
been two large court cases. One's been decided and one's fixing to be heard, and that's of 95 Tennessee counties, all included in it, regarding the bonding procedure, the defendant's right to a personal determination of bonding status.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, I've sent you that one case, the Gary Accord, but luckily we have a county commission subcommittee that's looking into that, chaired by Chairman Val, and he's looking at that. The schools, unchanged, correct? Nothing there we wanted to change.
That's right.
The prior resolutions that we have passed since the inception of this government, they all stand unless in conflict or unless superseded by another one, correct?
Correct.
Private acts still stand. And thereby, I think there's a code section there in the charter laws that addresses the private acts. Compensation of county officials, there was no change on that. We'll continue to go, the county officials will be on the schedule of salaries by the state, and the county officials will get a raise when the year after the state gives a raise. That's how that works, and it's outlined by statute. There's no change there. The compensation of county employees, I show it as no change, but what that means is we'll be on the compensation plan as it stands today. Ethics, no change. We'll stay with the policy that's in place. Ethics is one of the areas that we have to cover. Okay, going to, I'm out of line. October 5th meeting, 2020, commission size stayed the same. The at-large seat that we talked about countywide was no. Staggered terms was no. School board size unchanged. School transportation contracts, they wanted something that I felt like may be contrary to state law in the ability to extend those school transportation contracts. John, I'm going to leave that up to you. I don't know if it can be changed. There's a state statute in the way of that prescribes those school bus contracts. I believe it's at 4 years. Then the budget system, the way I have it is unchanged. It's the 81 Act, the 1981 Fiscal Management Act. The civil service system is in place for the county sheriff's office with no change. There was no decision on a civil service or merit board system for county employees. They'll continue to be at will. The county mayor versus county administrator, you decided to stay with the current county mayor system. No county administrator. Open records will be handled pursuant to the Tennessee Open Records Act and the system we've got in place right now, and that's the 2 public records request coordinators, Kim Jeffers Whitaker for all the departments except the mayor's departments, and Leanne Tupper will do all the mayor's departments. That's a good breakdown. Public meetings law, we're going to have no changes on that. The one idea that keeps popping up is, and I actually addressed this weekend at the county attorney's conference with Lee Pope, is the ability for one commissioner that may be sick to attend virtually. And right now, there's no exception in the law. You have to be present in the room and physically be able to vote. So somebody could watch on TV, but they can't vote unless they're physically present. No change then on the public meetings. The pilot agreement change, we decided to allow the current system in place where the IDB will send us recommendations for policy changes. And if we see something like we did last time, we sent them an idea that we'd like to see incorporated, and they quickly took it up. So we'll leave that in the current system on pilots and TIF agreements. There was no effort to block the county issuing either a PILT, payment in lieu of tax, sometimes I call it a pilot, or a TIF agreement. We've used those, I think, now 6 times on TIF agreements. We'll continue to allow that usage. The next one was nonpartisan elections. That's been an area of contention. It depends on which party's in power, it seems like. But John, I think there's no way around that state statute, is there? I think it takes the agreement of both parties to do that. So that's a no change right now. General Sessions 2 down in Oak Ridge, no change to that court. Again, that is by private act, so the private acts will stand as soon as you adopt the charter. Issues pop back up, donations to and from the county. We allow the donations to the county by statute, and we still can give donations, but it seems like, and Chuck knows this circular path this is taken with the nonprofit committee and all that, but it seems like they keep coming back from the county commission for special funds when some of these public service organizations are in need of money. But anyway, right now, that's no change, and we'll leave that up to county commission. I believe that's better in their purview. If they want to establish a nonprofit committee, that's totally up to them. But we'll leave that. Term limits, I've got no. Limits on expenditures, like you saw in the Union County draft charter, or the actually proposed charter, they had a certain limit that it had to have 2 readings back to back. We'll say we had no. John, this is Tim Isbell. Tim, this is John Owings. He's our Charter Commission counsel, former Knox County Law Director. Tim wears about 20 different hats, and I said today at the beginning of the meeting, I said, this is odd, Tim's not here. So I knew you had something going on. I knew you were. Yeah, good to have you, buddy. Capital outlay notes, no changes. General obligation bond, no changes. We're staying right with the County Powers Act and all TCA. Ordinances, of course, we'll have the power to write ordinances. John will write that in. and we'll take that up as far as specific ordinances at a later time. Violation of the building codes, the issue there was to be able to address those in General Sessions Court instead of going through the Chancery Court. I don't have whether we acted on that or not. What that would mean is the codes enforcement people would write a citation, like an ordinance, and make it returnable to General Sessions. As it stands right now, the process is they send it to me, I file a lawsuit in Chancery Court to abate the nuisance or the unsafe building or whatever it is. But I believe we can take care of that with ordinances if the county commission so desires at a later time, because you'll have that authority in the charter to write ordinances. Yes, sir.
And on all the ordinance stuff, the charter will empower the county commission to handle ordinances, right?
Yes, sir.
We don't have to have anything in the charter that addresses.
No, unless you
other than
wanted
the
to.
authorization and the empowerment of the
No,
commission.
you want the
to control.
enabling authority is
Enabling
what
authority, yeah.
we're looking for. Unless you wanted to put some in there to give an idea of what we were talking about. We talked at one time about the uniform traffic code that's been adopted by several states, and keeping that money home instead of sending it down to Nashville, things of that nature. But right now, all we're trying to do is get the enabling authority in the charter to pass that. And that is one of the statutory items that are there. So building codes, we'll probably just allow that to work out through the ordinances. Okay, I'm at, got that one. February 1st, constable system you wanted to keep. Severance tax, keep as is by state statute. Countywide fire department, we'll just allow county commission to discuss that. That's such a big outlay, and we all know it. It seems like it gets closer every day to something. I'd like to push it out 20 years, so we don't have to make that decision, but it's getting rough on these volunteer fire departments. We've tried to do a lot of different things for them, and we'll continue to do that. But the countywide fire department is something that I'd like to see county commission take a long look at, but right now we're just not ready there. It's getting close, but we're getting ready. No changes to the eminent domain law. We'll stay with Tennessee State Code. Then we talked about medical care for retired employees, and we were referring that to the Board of Trustees, the Insurance Board of Trustees. Any changes there? That's what we've got, the decisions on those. We talked about the penalties for ordinances. I believe we'll just stay with the range that's embodied in state law in the, I think it's 50 to 300, 50 to something like that. But anyway, we'll keep that. The occupancy tax is no change. We'll keep the private act that we have in place right now on the hotel motel occupancy tax. You had no changes to the mayor's veto power. As it stands now, it takes a simple majority to override that mayor's veto.
Yeah, Jay.
Yes, sir.
The occupancy tax thing, you and I had some conversation that they just passed a new law that seems to conflict with our private act. Okay, and a private act is state law.
Yeah, I understand that, but if you read through that, you'll see where all private acts stand. That goes, go back, there's a date certain in there and anything, and ours is way before that.
Oh, okay.
So we're all right, it'll
So
stay.
it ends up not impacting that for us?
Yes, sir, but there
Okay,
was a
good.
major change on the short-term rental unit
Yeah.
that more complicated this matter and calling it a vacation rental home now. And that's, those are different spin on it, and evidently, as we talked about last month at County Commission, where the short-term rental units, the marketplace collected all the occupancy tax, business tax, and things of that matter, remitted it to the State Department of Revenue. They shared it with the county, one check each month, but it wasn't broken down as per location. So there was no way for us to internally audit that. We just had to take the word of the people that they were sending the money in from the marketplaces. Now, it looks like that those people on the vacation tourist homes are, have to pay it on their own. So to add more complication to the issue of short-term rental units, we get these new set of statutes there, so we'll have to take that. No changes to the annexation. That's totally controlled by state statute. Any questions on that?
No. It sounds accurate to me.
Okay. No changes on my job that I think that's came up now 3 times, but I see nothing.
Yeah, we talked about your job, we also talked about the school board, I mean, not the school board, the superintendent of schools.
Yeah, no
Also
change there.
To be hired.
That's
No,
correct.
that's part of the no change in the schools.
Yes, sir. We're not doing any changes to the
Yeah.
school system at all. Okay. Going back through this working copy draft I've sent out to you, a lot of this stuff is just housekeeping matters, but it does have the powers on amending the charter. And if you recall, the way you would amend that charter is you decided to be once every 6 years, and the Charter Commission would meet again and take up issues. Believe it or not, Ms. Beauchamp, you're on here for life, is the way it stands. But
Or till you resign.
they come back each year, each 6 years, and take up any changes. Then they forward those changes to the county commission. County commission approves them and puts them out on referendum vote for the citizens.
It's 2/3.
The same charter people that are on this now, or every 6 years?
No.
How are those
The
people?
way it stands is this charter will be here unless somebody decides to resign.
Then replaced by
and they're
county
replaced
commission
by
according
county
to state
commission.
law.
Remember, the state code says county commission appoints the replacements.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay.
It's 2/3.
2/3, yes, sir. Correct.
Yes.
That preamble, I didn't know if you wanted that or not. It's on the working copy. Says, "We, the people of Anderson County, Tennessee, in recognition of the dual role of the county as a political subdivision of the state of Tennessee and as a unit of local government, and in order to avail ourselves to self-determination in county affairs to the fullest extent possible under Tennessee Constitution and laws of the state, by this charter, confer upon the county the following powers, subject to the following restrictions prescribed for in this charter and the following procedures and governmental structure." That is the preamble. That's all it is. If anybody wants to give me any additional stuff, I'll be glad to put it in there, and I think John will probably have some wording there. Again, we're looking at 8 commission districts, 2 commissioners from each commission district for a total of 16, exactly the way it is now. Phil, do you have a question? You're looking at me like you got a question.
Well, before you mentioned commission in staggered terms, and we didn't know if that was something that, I think, all those things that related to county commission.
We'd let them
didn't-
decide.
Right, it's up to county commission, not up to the charter.
That's correct. That's what was decided that night. I think we took that matter up 2 or 3
Right.
times. The Anderson County Water Authority, that private act will still stand. I've had a couple of questions about that, but as you know, as I said tonight, the private acts will stand. Tim, we covered the enterprise zones. I know that's close and dear to your heart. John, one thing that we talked about, and I know this is probably something that's a dream of ours, is to somehow embody qualified immunity for our peace officers. And I know that's a constitutional issue, and we certainly can't by charter address the United States Constitution, but we're worried about retention of police officers and sheriff's deputies and jailers. And one of the things that we hear from on exit interviews is they're scared about losing qualified immunity. I don't know if we can even address that in the charter other than just support what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish, but I'll let you take that issue and see what you can come up with. But I'm really concerned about the erosion of the qualified immunity doctrine for our law enforcement officers. It's we're seeing it already. Okay. County Commission rules will stay the same and allow County Commission the obvious opportunity to amend those at will. Nothing was even talked about there as a change. There was a provision here on emergency powers where, and I think this came about with the COVID initial response, where the power would be delegated to one or two commissioners to work with the county mayor to make decisions when we can't get a public meeting scheduled to make an emergency decision. This would be something that is a pressing emergency, something that has to be done immediately. And what would happen is, like we did that unofficial poll, we came back and confirmed that vote later by the county commission at a full body meeting. Any thoughts about those emergency powers? That would allow probably the chairman to work with the mayor and one other, maybe the operations chairman, on situations of pressing urgency. I mean, we're not talking about that we can't, something we got to make a decision on right now. And, but anyway, that's out there. I didn't know if you wanted to put that in or not. Commissioner Meade?
Yeah, I think that really makes sense, because it allows you to act promptly, yet have appropriate level of oversight. That it doesn't become just the mayor or just some person that is empowered to make that decision, that it takes a consensus of some small group that's been selected by county commission.
I'd like to have
think
it
that
at a
makes
minimum
sense.
of 3, and probably no more than that. Don't want to complicate it, but the problem is we need to have that vote ratified by the full body of county commission or whatever the action is. So in cases where they make a decision on an emergency basis, you need to understand we need to support them. I'd hate to for them to bring back that decision and then we not pass it here and they're out on their own. So that's a problem right there, is when we would have some decision they made on an emergency basis that was contentious, that maybe have a political divide in it, and we not ratify that vote. But I hope everybody, it's a good idea as long as everybody understands they're under pressure and they have to make a sound decision, the best possible decision they can for this county. And we're talking about dire emergencies. I would say bad weather, but we've got a procedure in place for that. But emergency purchases that we just can't call a county commission meeting fast enough to make the determination. Yes, sir.
I would suggest you check with Dr. Perry, the school system. They have a policy on, what I guess you'd say executive committee or to make decisions that have to be made prior to the next board meeting. Something, a lot of those.
That's correct.
A lot of those had to do with travel.
That's right.
But some emergency things that would come up, but they would come up at the next meeting. There would be a report of all decisions like that, and then each one would be voted on.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Okay. Any questions on that issue? All righty.
One
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
On emergency powers, is that gonna be detailed out? Because we just went through COVID, we ran into the situation where other counties were shutting down their counties. Mayor Frank decided not to close anything down, not to, slap mask on us. Is that taking away her power
No.
on that, or, okay, I
That's
just want to
under
be clear on
state
that.
code.
Okay,
That was clearly spelled out. These are the areas that just kind of fall in between the cracks. And VL brought up something that they might not be pressing emergencies.
Okay.
They may be something that's just routine, that somebody needs to make a decision on, that we normally make a decision on at county commission. So it's a little bit broader than just emergencies. But
Okay.
no, nothing that would be in conflict with the mayor's powers
Okay.
or emergency management powers of that nature. Any other questions on that one?
So do you want that to be defined within the charter?
You want to try to
Well
pin that?
defined, pin it down?
Yeah, just a little bit maybe. I like the executive committee, some kind of something, you know best. Is that all right? We'll see what John comes up with. Now, as far as the constitutional officers, there's no changes here at all. And what was it? John, was it the register of deeds that was the issue over there?
It was term limits.
Yeah,
All right, and so the term limits that were being applied to the trustee,
okay,
and it was mainly the trustee at the time who did not want the
Okay.
term limits to be applied, but then the others, they struggled with that too.
I'm sure. It's a hard transition.
That's right. And so, you know, it can't apply to judicial offices. We can't term limit judicial offices, but what we learned through that process is that county commission and some of these other constitutional offices, they can be term limited, and in Knox County, they are. You get 2 terms, and it's looked upon as 2 full terms, 2 full terms. So if you came in office, you were appointed into office, someone had left, and you came in midterm, you would still have 2 full terms ahead of you that you could run for to be elected. But that was the issue.
Right.
And
John, you talked about not clearly defining the roles and duties, is that what the court wanted to see. Is it not proper just to say pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated in the Constitution?
that's what we ended up doing, was,
Okay, just grant all powers that are in TCA and the Constitution.
there was a paragraph about that long under each constitutional
So that'll
law.
suffice.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Such a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
It wasn't it?
Telling you. On the constitutional offices, there was no changes, terms of 4 years, except the clerk of masters, 6, that's state statute. We've got under the county mayor, ADA coordinator, animal care and control, building and grounds, building commissioner, community planning and development, codes enforcement, emergency management, emergency medical services, fleet maintenance, historian, office on aging and senior center, pretrial release, solid waste, stormwater. County clerk, circuit court clerk. Now, we had to put in there, the circuit court clerk is in a unique position here. Not only do they take care of the criminal and civil docket for the circuit court, but they take care of the 2 general sessions courts and the juvenile court. So that's a big job there, and then some of it's controlled by private act, some of it's controlled by state statute. But anyway, we'll have to lay that in there. The assessor, register of deeds, trustee, and the sheriff, those are all constitutional offices. The judicial offices, as John says, they're unchanged whatsoever. Other elected officials, the highway superintendent, that's same qualifications as provided for in state law, no changes there. The constables, no changes. Mandatory offices that we have to have, the election administrator, the finance director, the law director, the purchasing agent or deputy purchasing agent, and that's how we are now. Catherine is technically not the purchasing agent, she's the deputy purchasing agent. Robbie is, as the finance director, has chosen to be over purchasing. That's a decision we can make under the 81 Act to have that purchasing department be a standalone department. But I think Natalie actually made the decision through the finance committee, but that's the way that stands. The school director, all those are unchanged. Discretionary departments that I believe everybody's okay with these. Alternatives to Incarceration Program, that's been highly successful. ACTV, the drug court, that's controlled by state statute. HR and risk management, IT, the judicial commissioners, of course, we talked about that. Juvenile probation, the libraries, we've got a resolution on that. Parks and Recreation, which is actually a conservation board, and I think I've spoken to several of you about that. The Conservation Board is one of these boards that has a lot of power, and they can actually go out and take out loans and apply for grants on their own. So they're in there. Tourism and Veteran Services, those are the ones that are just standalone. Usually a committee supervises those departments. Okay, school system, no changes. No changes to the qualifications of any elected office, strictly controlled by state statute. The vacancy provision will follow state law. That's, most of those come straight to county commission to fill an unexpired term. Okay, the ordinance adoption, I'll let John look at that. Spells out how we would adopt ordinances. And, John, what we need to work in is, say we come across typos, come across something that's been inadvertently left out, kind of like a Rule 60.02 motion, where there's a small mistake, it's not material to the charter, but we need to fix that without going through the entire amendment process. You follow me?
Yes.
So I need a way to fix small, non-material problems with the charter. Now, if it's material, we'll certainly have to go through the amendment process as outlined previously. But we need a way to take care of those small housekeeping matters, and hopefully there won't be any of them, but that would help us. Any questions on any of this? If you have a minute, go back through your working copy of the charter. It's what I sent it to you as the working copy, and let me know if there's anything you want to change. Okay, I believe that's all I have for tonight. Any questions of me? Nothing? Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Get well quick.
Yes,
Yes.
I was supposed to get my grandson Thursday, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Any questions, Jay or John? Any old business? I have a question, Jay.
Yes, sir.
I should have asked this earlier. You mentioned about something you'd sent us. And just now,
Just then, the working
Yes.
copy?
yes,
Yes, you've got that probably last January, February, it was in the winter, I sent out.
okay.
If you don't have it, holler at me. I'll send it right back to you.
No problem. I just wondered if it was something that was more recent.
No, it was last January, maybe February, something like that.
Okay,
We went through it all that night,
right.
most of
Yeah, I
the
have that.
specifics. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Any new business? Need to check the calendar to see about the next meeting. Looks like it'd be September 6th.
Is that the day after Labor Day?
That is Labor Day.
Don't do it then.
Yeah, probably not good to have it on Labor Day. Thinking maybe that Tuesday?
Anybody have, tell me the 7th or the 14th? When you said that,
It's normally held on the day after, Tuesday after the holiday.
Yeah.
do what?
Yeah, that would be the 7th.
Yeah, they're normally held the day
Yeah.
after the holiday, on that Tuesday. On the 7th.
Anybody have a problem with that? So the next meeting will be September 7th?
That sounds good.
Anybody have anything else? Then a motion to adjourn's in order.
So moved.
Okay. Moved in second, hearing no further comment, meeting's adjourned.